Thanks, Michael. BJ, appreciate your time as always. You guys obviously have some injuries, some different players potentially getting opportunities in this camp. It's also a competitive tie that you have to win. Are you guys thinking of this solely as like two games that on aggregate you have to win, or do you also see it as time for experimentation with different things, with a view, with like a longer term view toward 26?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we're approaching is using the exact same word that you just used, which is this is competition, and so for us, we know what's at stake in this home and home type of event with Trinidad. It's an opportunity to earn ourselves into the Nations League and Copa America, which are two big tournaments that we take very seriously. I think we've proven that at least with the Nations League, and an opportunity to win a third title. So we're going to approach it like we would approach any type of competitive match where the result matters, strictly matters. And so that's how we're going to go about it, and continue to use the same preparation that we always do.
Got it. Thanks.
Next will be Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, BJ. Two for you, if you don't mind. The first is with Johnny Cardozo pulling out injured at the last minute. Certainly seemed like he might get some opportunities in this window, and I wonder if you guys felt the same way. And then second of all, with Paxton Aronson coming in to here instead of the Olympic camp, what do you think this week's going to be like for him? Thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, to take the first part, I think Johnny's been playing really well at his club with some really great performances, and that's why we called him in, because we had expected him to make a contribution. Unfortunately with the injury, that's not the case. But I think for us, it's an area that we have a lot of depth. We expect other guys to be able to get opportunities and step up. And I think for the way we look at all of these situations where guys get injured is that one of the greatest strengths of our team is the depth, and we're able to and I think we're able to sort of go to the next guy up and don't have any concern with that. And I think that leads into your second question with bringing Paxton Aronson in, another player who's been able to get some playing time. Opportunity arises on the roster, and it's a guy who we've been tracking for a while, has made really good impact at the 20s in that cycle. So again, it's an opportunity for him personally, but it's also an opportunity for the entire group to continue to get this experience in highly competitive games where results matter, to push us into the next phase of this pathway to the 2026 World Cup, which is again more competitive games in Nations League, more competitive games in Copa America.
We'll go to Doug McIntyre from Fox.
Michael, thank you. BJ, good to see you. Thanks for doing this. As always, Luca de la Torre was on the World Cup squad last year, wasn't playing a ton for Celta Vigo at the time. He didn't play in Qatar, but he goes back, and the second half of last season was almost an every week starter. It's continued into this year. Can you just sort of speak to how you've seen him develop over the past 12 months, on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think Luca's a total professional. His versatility, I think, is a great resource and tool for him, and I think it speaks to why he becomes so valuable once he gets into a team and a coach can realize the different aspects and I guess variability that he can bring to different game plans. I would say his confidence it's a quiet self-confidence. And for me, being around him, we know how driven he is. And he's a player that's taken some risks in his career because he believes in himself. And I think, over this last 12 months, you can see the dividends that are being paid, is that he's in the La Liga. He's a full-time starter. He's playing under a great manager. And he's, for me, someone who's grown tremendously, and we believe is a really valuable piece to our men's national team.
Next will be Seth Bertelny from Pro Soccer Wire.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, BJ. Thanks for doing this. There's only one player on this roster from MLS. That's kind of been a trend in the last couple of camps compared to, say, the World Cup roster where there were quite a few players. I'm wondering, what your take is on the reason for that. Is that part of a larger trend, or is it more just kind of like a snapshot in time, and maybe a roster in a few months would have a few more players from MLS?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not really looked upon versus MLS versus, non-MLS. We're constantly monitoring the entire player pool. And for us, it's an opportunity to, again, try to pick a 23-man roster that we think, is going to be is the right fit for that window. And it fits for a lot of different reasons. There are a lot of different factors that sort of go into that selection. But I think the door, every window, every camp roster is the same process of evaluation and selection, regardless of, where a player is playing.
We'll go to Sanjay Sujan Thakumar.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, BJ, for your time today. Two-part question. First one, just to follow up about Paxton Aronson. Could you talk about how you see him fitting in positionally? If I'm not mistaken, Greg talked about him as perhaps a winger with this group. Can you talk about his profile and maybe compare and contrast him to some of the attacking mid as well, guys like Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna, where Paxton fits in the attacking mid winger group. And then also, in terms of the wingers, big opportunity, obviously, for Kevin Paredes with Tim and Christian not here. Can you talk about what you see him bringing to that winger group at this point in his career? Do you think he can bring some of that verticality and goal dangerous, direct play as a winger at this point in his career? Thanks.
Yeah, great question. I think you're looking at players, and we can use specific positions when we say attacking mids or wingers, but I also think it goes a little bit deeper into the type of player profile that they have. So someone like Paxton is definitely a player that we see can play is a starting position in a wing area, but a player that wants to come in between the lines, receive the ball, turn, run it back lines, play final passes, and arrive in the penalty box. So I think it's more about that profile that you're able to sort of pick and how that kind of matches up against the opponent. Conversely, with Kevin, who's really made strides with his club, and I think earning the trust of this club. He's, I think, a player that can play in a wide position, and he can really unbalance an opponent 1-versus-1. I think he can kind of come inside and threaten and run behind the back line. Another aspect that we really like about him is his ability to arrive on the weak side in the penalty box. And so, I think whether we call them attacking mids or wingers, I think it's about utilizing their skill set and deploying that in a great way. And both of them, I think, bring exciting profiles to unleash when we're able to when the game needs it.
Last question for BJ comes from Andrew Jones.
Thanks, Michael, as always. Hey, BJ, hope everything's going well, family, and just everything outside of soccer. I want to ask you just tracking Gaga Salinas developing at Efren with how he's been a constant starter and really despite how the rest of their team is doing it. And was it too tight to have a replacement for Johnny, considering the Olympic team, to be able to get a replacement for you guys, that you feel that it was just going to be not possible with the logistics so close with his injury?
Yeah, so with Gaga, I mean, we always have to continue to remind ourselves that he's still a young player, 19 years old, starting week in and week out, and in that position specifically, gaining experience as a goalkeeper is tremendous. So he's somebody that we monitor all the time. I think it's been really good to see him play. He's making big saves for his team. And then additionally, just kind of developing from a complete goalkeeper standpoint with communication, playing as out as when he has to be as a field player with his feet. So we've seen a lot of maturation with him in those aspects. And again, it's an opportunity to bring him in, get him around the group, be part of a competitive environment where the results are going to matter, and from that experience combined with his club experience, continue to have his development go. So that's been great for him. With Johnny, I think we called 24 players in already. knowing that there was players carrying small injuries already. Not that we expected it to be Johnny, but with the number going to 23, it's for us, we just thought it's easy enough to continue here instead of bringing someone else in. Additionally, the schedule of having a game on Thursday, which is a little bit different with less training time, it's just to remain focused here with the 23 players. That's, we have enough depth in the squad to get quality training and to, I think, compete in this first game.